to. So, just a quick recap of episode one. Episode one was basically talking about Vince McMahon and how he kind of like had this company called WWE that he bought from his father, but when it was called WWF, or I could have sworn it was called WWWF at one point, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that. His childhood was not easy. He had an abusive stepfather. His mom. They didn't mention this in the documentary, but Vince has a really strained relationship with his mother, and I get it. I mean, he's unfortunately Vince is also a victim of SA. You would like to know more information, you can watch on my channel. It's called Dalster Keeps Vlogging. It talks about the childhood, about Vince McMahon. Right now I'm in part one, but I'm going to do part two. Pretty soon after once I start wrapping up all the Dark Side of the Ring episode reviews because I'm almost done with all of them. I think I just need 10 more. And Vince meets his dad when he was 12. He gets influenced by his dad, and he starts once Vince Jr. started taking the company from his dad, he started to take it into like multimedia mainstream, and he started to make a lot of changes. But his dad was not happy about it at first because I think his dad kind of was worried that Vince was going to succumb to the pressures of handling a wrestling business. But unfortunately, that ended up being true a couple years later, and his father died kind of like in his 60s, I think. And so Vince McMahon, he finally managed to get WWF into the mainstream, and he made WrestleMania 1, which I think happened in the 80s, and it became a big deal. Although I heard people saying that it wasn't a good pay-per-view back then. I don't know. I thought it was okay. I actually watched it during the time of WrestleMania season. I was trying to watch all the WrestleManias. But unfortunately, I didn't get to do that. I only got to the first one. So episode two is basically, and oh, one more thing. And towards the end of the episode, they talk about the more powerful Vince became, the more bad press he was gonna start getting, and I think they were leading to the steroid trials and wrestlers using steroids and stuff. And yeah, I'll probably watch closely because I haven't done the Vince versus U.S. or there's an episode of the Dark Side of the Ring where it talks about the steroid trial, and I haven't done that yet. But I'll probably take notes about that because I'm a little confused with that one a little bit, just a little. So we'll look at episode two. So episode two is called Heat. Interesting fact for all you WWE fans or non WWE fans. WWE used to have a segment. I remember it was on Spike TV, now Paramount TV channel. They used to it was called Heat, WWE Heat, where mostly the jobbers they would have the jobbers wrestling for like an hour or two. It didn't last that long actually. Yeah, I used to watch that, but yeah, back then WWE had a lot of programming. They had WWE Heat, they had WWE Velocity. It was mostly for jobbers, and they also had I can't remember what it was called. I think WWE Experience or something, where Todd Grisham, who was a wrestling like commentator in the backstage, and Ivory, who was a women's superstar in WWE back then. They would host it, but then Ivory, left around a couple weeks later because I guess she got released from her contract. So yeah, I don't know why it's called Heat. I think maybe this is where they talk about the steroid trials. Also, I know in the 80s, this is where a lot of bad things start to happen once Vince starts taking over the company. Like, sneak preview, Jimmy Snuka murdered his girlfriend at the time, Nancy Argentino, which they also did an episode for Dark Side of the Ring of it on the first or second. Yeah, I think it was the first season. I can't remember. And they also talk about the steroid trials. I think they're gonna talk about the steroid trials, and they're gonna also. Well, I saw on TikTok this morning. I couldn't wait for the documentary, so I saw TikTok, and they might be talking about the Ring Boy scandal, and that is really gonna be a sensitive topic. I have yet to talk about that. But trigger warning for anyone that's watching this. They'll probably talk about the Ring Boy scandal. So if you're sensitive to SA or R word or inappropriate touching of a minor, descriptions of that, this stream might not be for you. Which SA is sexually assault and R is rape, and like inappropriate touching is just not places you should not be touching. But yeah, let's stream episode 1. Oh man, I remember DX were making like a parody about that when they were like having that feud with Mr. McMahon. That was funny. Stand back. Thing for the woman out there, I think they might be talking about a woman named Rita Chatterton. There's actually clips, I saw it on TikTok, of her actual clips of her refereeing, so we'll probably find out more about her in here. I know for a fact I've heard of it because of Brad Dourif in that one movie. It's funny the way he says Geraldo. It's really funny. You guys should check it. But supposedly she accused him and that he tried to R-word her, and yeah, it's pretty ugly. And that's also one of the reasons why they never had WWF referees for such a long time, and so recent as of now. But yeah, I think they're gonna talk about her in this episode. But there will be clips, because I try to find something about this woman, but I can't find anything other than the pictures that they show on Google. I think Vince McMahon should have been a singer. I think Hulk Hogan and his friend David Schultz, the guy he ended up backstabbing, they started a band before they entered wrestling. Or I don't know if it was him or it must have been Buff Bagwell.
Professional.
Netflix, I feel like Netflix really hates Vince McMahon. That's what they put that little music. I'm sorry, it's so funny. Like, it reminds me of I remember DX was making fun of it. Oh god, those were some good times. Oh man, okay.
A big deal.
Yeah, that was a big deal back in the day. They tried to bring it back, but it didn't last long. And then I think recently they're trying to bring it back again. I heard talks.
On network television.
Just so I forgot to mention this episode 1. Bruce Pritchard, he's kind of Vince McMahon's right hand man. He's like the guy that's like he'll stick up for Vince no matter what. And there's been a lot of talk saying that Bruce is Vince's kind of like spy right now at the moment. But I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say something, but I don't want to say that. But he's someone that probably knows a lot more about Vince than we do. I think he's got some secrets. They should have.
Managing the schedule, especially in the late 80s when it was just a disaster.
They only had the wrestlers take day offs around Christmas, and I think that was it. And New Year's Day, maybe. Probably not. I don't know. It's
Worse
true.
and worse and worse. And
a lot of wrestlers ended up going to painkillers, and some of them weren't drug addicts, but because they got into painkillers in order to help with their injuries, they would later unfortunately become drug addicts. This happened to a wrestler. Who was it? Oh, it was Nick Gage. Well, he wasn't in WWF or anything, but I think he became a drug addict because he had to wrestle through the pain, so he ended up taking drugs, and then he became a drug addict and got into serious trouble. But there were a lot of wrestlers who also did drugs that were in WWF as well. I think, or in other wrestling promotions like Chris Adams. Who was it? I think Chris Adams. Oh, Dynamite Kid. Chris Benoit. That one guy, I can't remember what his name was. Chris Colt, I think that's what his name was. Yeah, there's a siren going on.
but
They
at
used
that
a lot of
time it was
opioids and somas, which were like muscle relaxers.
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Oh, and then Hulk Hogan ended up firing him. Ugh. There's a lot of reasons why I hate Hulk Hogan. A lot.
like
Oh,
it
you know
is.
what? I think the guy that we saw, the eyeshadow, the colorful eyeshadow, I think that was him, Jesse Ventura, towards the end of episode 1.
You know, I was on Vince McMahon's team all the way, so
Because
I
of
went
the
straight to
earrings.
Vince and says, hey, Jesse's stirring shit up, man.
Yeah,
You know,
Hulk
he's trying to start a
Hogan,
union
the
here.
biggest rat.
And next thing you know,
Yeah, but the wrestlers kind of deserved it, like a union. I mean, they put their bodies on the line, and for them to have to get addicted to drugs and stuff, even, I mean, look what happened a couple years later. Chris Benoit. Thanks a lot, Hulk. But it was trying to help the wrestlers. I mean, look what happened to a lot of them. They end up becoming drug addicts, and in their other life outside of wrestling, they ended up hurting themselves or other people. Yeah, all because of Hulk Hogan ratting out. This was just the beginning. This is nothing compared to today.
Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin!
She would then perform again in WrestleMania, I think 23, 24, 22. I didn't know she did. She performed in the third one. I wonder how Andre was in his prime. Do you guys know how strong he was? Because had he been in his prime in that match, could he have won against Hulk? Or could he have lost? But comment down below if you want to. I heard much about Andre the Giant. I never really watched his matches. But a lot of people really like that guy.
Is a key part of the
What's with that sad
WWE and
face
Vince
he was giving? Did you see how sad he looked? Or maybe he's just tired.
McMahon today. WrestleMania 3.
Or it could be that maybe he misses Andre. Because I know that the famous meme of Vince McMahon where he's like, he was special and then he's crying. That could be why he was kind of like,
is
maybe
a key part
Or
of
could
the
be something
WWE
else.
of our brand.
To think that they were gonna do a movie of Hulk Hogan with Chris Hemsworth playing Hulk Hogan, only to then not happen because Hulk ended up ruining it. Yeah, not good, man, not good. Yeah, because Hulk's ego got bigger. I mean, Hulk should have thanked Vince. Oh, thank you, Vince, you made me a star. Nope.
writing the whole script.
Okay. God, these two really spend a lot of time together.
We just didn't know what the hell we were doing. We were just having fun.
The movie!
What
The
kind of
Hulksters
fun?
you've never seen him before!
It's not the world's worst movie.
What the heck? Why is he touching his butt like that? What? I want to know, what did Hulk and Vince do during that time together that was so fun?
Ultimate
Oh,
Warrior!
that didn't last long. I'm actually currently working on an episode for him right now. Was supposed to be the new guy after Hulk, but then Ultimate Warrior's ego got the best of him, sadly.
And me, the only one.
And all Louis and
An interesting fact, I learned about it while watching the episode. They really put a lot of merchandise with this guy, Ultimate Warrior. A lot of merchandise. Sorry about that. There's some kid yelling out in the background.
backstage. So immediately you
Yeah, a
look
lot of
at,
people hated
well,
him.
oh my God.
The culture, so to speak.
Man, how
And
bad did the
now-
people hateful? People were really hateful towards the people in Iraq back then. And I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't hate anybody. If you're mean to me, I'll probably hate you. But it doesn't matter. Like, I know some people might hate certain groups, which I really don't know why you would hate certain groups. But okay, but poor Iraqians getting all this hate. That's kind of sad.
He wanted to
Oh,
represent,
this is kind of weird.
and it was working.
This is weird. It's kind of sad because a couple years after this, there was a red character was Arabic. The man behind Mohammed Hassan. Mohammed Hassan, right? Did I say Muhammad Ali? It's
It was
Mohammed
working
Hassan.
really well.
He was actually
And,
Italian, and when 9/11 happened, people were very, very, very hateful towards the Saudi Arabians. Very hateful. Like I remember, I was reading a book by Serge Tankian, and they mentioned how a lot of System of a Down received so much hate because of a lot of their songs. People thought that their music was gonna be about 9/11, which is not. And then a lot of people were very hateful towards the Arabic community. I had a friend too who was Arabic, and he got beat up really bad by a guy who I used to have a crush on in junior high, and he had like a purple eye. I told him, "What happened? What happened to your eye?" And he said, "Oh, I hit a door." And I'm like, "How would a door do that to your eye?" And then a couple years later, when I looked more into 9/11, well, in my senior year, I did a big 9/11 project for my senior year. But then a couple years later, when I was writing my book, I found out that a former crush of mine hit him because hit my friend really hard and gave him that eye. And the reason why is because a lot of people didn't like him, and I remember because he was Arabic. And Muhammad Hassan, he received tons of hate, like all those people that you saw in the audience with the Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter. It's because of the 9/11. Well, during that time was Muhammad Hassan, but back then it was because of the Iraq. But people are really hateful. I don't mean to bash America. I love living in America. We have a lot better rights here than other countries. That's why they come over here. But come on, I mean, why disrespect Iraq that bad? Why? That's kind of mean.
They were sick of him.
Kind of like what people. I mean, that's kind of the same thing with John Cena as well. I remember the more John Cena won his matches and he kept going over and over and over, people started getting tired of him, and then they booed him. And then the whole CM Punk pipe bomb began, and yeah, I mean, I always did love John Cena, but I mean, it was kind of old, but I was like, whatever. But some people, you can't please a lot of people, sadly.
His role was to
It
make
sounds
sure
like
that all
he's trying to be defensive in that part.
the laws of the state
Go to work.
Wait, so
People
he
take
did
steroids
do
because they're wrestlers or actors or baseball players or hockey players or football players.
Well, it's obvious.
It was an era where steroid use in sports ran amok. The
I mean, I'm not
WWE
gonna lie, Ultimate Warrior looked really buff.
reeked of steroids.
He sounds like a drug dealer. Just trying to get an easy buck.
And sell to the talent.
he would check you for your match, blood pressure, your pulse some from him. But it was illegal
I knew it. I
to
knew he
prescribe
bought
them
steroids.
just to sell them.
I mean, come on.
Steroids.
Those muscles Vince has. I'm pretty sure he's done a lot of steroids.
Early.
Pretty sure he did. He did a lot more. Yeah, because a lot of people always say that Vince loves muscular men, like Brock Lesnar, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. Well, before he fired him. And then, who else? Well, John Cena and Batista was really muscular as well. Even Triple H. Well, that's because they did roids. Although John Cena, he said he doesn't, but I'm pretty sure he did.
Certain.
I'm pretty sure he did do steroids after that. I mean, come on. He had a really, muscular body for someone his age.
For drug-free sports and entertainment.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
A steroid abuser, and I do not use steroids.
Sure, Hulk. Sure. I'm sorry, but come on. I'm pretty sure he did do a lot of steroids.
Like, oh, God, please.
Yeah, like I was saying, what was I saying? I'm pretty sure Hulk did a couple of steroids here and then, even after this whole thing that happened.
Myself injected him personally.
I injected Hogan with steroids many
Wait,
times.
that's, oh God, I can't remember. David, and that's David, right? That looks like David. And then Billy Graham, and then and then Bruno, they were all saying, oh, I injected him. Yeah, Hulk Hogan's not a really good person to be friends with.
Self-destructed my own self. You know, that was one of the
And you still
worst
do
decisions
today,
ever
Hulk.
made.
You still do.
Our company against our former boss.
What about that Strasso guy from the first episode? He seemed like he wanted to know too. Because, you know, he got slapped by David Schultz and he seemed like he wanted... John Stossel, he seemed like he also wanted to get to the bottom of what was going on with WWF.
Because he's a dirtbag.
Oh, man.
What Vince had
I think he knew what was going on.
by running wrestling, they said it's wrestling, Vince. Stronger than I would write.
Are you sure, Dave?
Back then,
I think he's bluffing.
and I
I
returned
agree
some
with those letters because there's always problems. There were a lot of issues going on in the locker rooms during the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. That's where usually the wrestlers did their, you know, drugs.
calls, and it was mind-blowing.
Remember, in Dark Side of the Ring, they talked about how Randy Savage would always have Miss Elizabeth in a closet or with a woman. And a lot of people think that maybe he was being overprotective or he was just obsessed with her, but some people also say that maybe he was trying to protect her from, because he knew that there was a lot of not so good men in the industry. But I'm not gonna point fingers who, cause unless they say who it is. I do remember when I was reading the Ashley versus WWE, the lady, I forgot her name, but the lady who did the Audible book version, she said that I can't remember. She was talking to a trainer from WWE, and the WWE trainer said that when he was in the locker rooms, and I think I mentioned this in my video as well. He was in the locker rooms and he saw a wrestler performing, you know, inappropriate sex on a minor, I think. Like, immediately saw that. And I was like, what the heck? But that's what I heard. Again, it might be true, might not be.
Not necessarily a safe place to be.
Yeah, and then unfortunately that's what happened with one of the referees, Rita Chatterton. She accused Vince. Well, it might be true. It's still alleged, but she supposedly was R-worded by Vince, and since then they never had WWE referees, women WWE referees until the 2020s, maybe 2019, 18, 17.
I hear some horrible stuff.
Oh, and this is one of
Superfly,
them.
Jimmy Snuka.
Jimmy Snuka also had a Dark Side of the Ring episode, and it goes into really good detail about his relationship with Nancy Argentino and how he also did a lot of drugs during that time, and unfortunately he became very abusive and he killed her. I'm pretty sure he did. I know a lot of people probably might say, oh, you're lying. How do you know? You weren't there. I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, come on, man. I mean, look what happened to Chris Benoit, and then even Stone Cold Steve Austin hit a woman, Deborah.
I think that Vince had a hand in making it go away. I mean,
Pretty
exactly what?
obvious. Because Jimmy was a big star back then. Not just, well, Hulk was too, but Jimmy was also, like, he was known to be Superfly, and he did a lot of frog leaps that a lot of people still remember to this day, and I'm pretty sure he did it. And I think Vince also had a... Again, this is my opinion, so my opinions might not be true.
I don't know. Hot brother.
What, killing your girlfriend?
No doubt.
It was vigilant against Vince.
Well, actually,
He
it was more like Chris Benoit, and then more stuff started to come out.
told me.
Boy scandal
Oh,
began
yeah,
with
this is where it gets really dirty. So if you're very sensitive about sexual assault, don't watch this part. It's really sad. Especially with one of the victims being Tom Cole. It's a really sad story.
the fellow named Mel Phillips.
Oh, Mel Phillips. That dude. That guy. Supposedly, I can't remember which WrestleMania, but in WrestleMania or the second one, he was in the audience with little boys in the audience sitting with little boys. But they cut that out. Because, you know, more stuff started coming out about him.
Who was what they called the
Dirty
ring boss.
bastard.
He would bring with him ring.
But it's really sad what happened to Tom Cole. But this guy right here, Mel Phillips, that son of a guy, he's disgusting. I hate him. He's probably as bad as Diddy and R. Kelly.
Mel Phillips was a total pedophile.
Mel Phillips also has a foot fetish. He's really nasty.
Sexual favors. They weren't hired.
An executive in
that was
Connecticut.
one of them. Terry Garvin's also a child PDF file, along with Pat Patterson. I think they did it. They called themselves the Cream Team.
And Pat Patterson.
I think Pat Patterson's disgusting too. He's nasty.
Very homophobic. Pat was gay.
I can't remember who said it. I think it was in that one show that they had about the Ring Boys. You could find it on YouTube. I can't remember what talk show it was. But supposedly, I think it was Billy Graham that said that supposedly, or maybe someone else. They were at the parking lot, and when they were at the car, Mel Phillips was in the car with a little boy, and doing things he should not be doing. And what else? And I remember in an interview that Roddy Piper did a long time ago, he talked about Pat Patterson and how he was, you know, as a kid trying to get into the wrestling business, he was inappropriately touched, and he seemed really ashamed of it. But unfortunately, you know, Roddy Piper died, and so we might never know what happened to him. But he pretty much put the blame on himself, even though whatever happened to Roddy, I don't think it was his fault. I think it was Pat Patterson. Whatever. And I can't remember. There was a black wrestler too that said that when they were in an elevator with Pat Patterson. It was a black wrestler. I can't remember his name. I think it was Brickhouse or something. I can't remember. I'm sorry. But he was in the elevator with Pat Patterson, and Pat Patterson like immediately got his hands on this guy. Like he was like, if you let me take advantage of you, I will make sure you get a big push. And the guy, the black wrestler, was like, hell no. And yeah, I think he got fired or something. Yeah, that's Pat Patterson guy's disgusting.
Vince is guilty of.
I never really understood why Vince never. I mean, maybe I don't know, but it's allegations so far, so nothing's come to light yet. I just don't understand if this really happened. Why didn't Vince do anything? I mean, you would think that someone who was abused as a child as well, Vince, he would step in and be like, "Hey, stop this! This is disgusting," and he would probably understand more because that happened to him too as a boy. Probably with his mom, maybe, from what I heard online. But he didn't. He never did. I wish he did. Maybe that would have given him closure. Or maybe, like, something to get off his chest. That's just so sad. He should have stepped in. Especially because, you know, he went through the same thing as a kid.
On McMahon's watch.
And sadly, one of those guys ended up taking their life a couple years later because it was just so bad. And they left behind 3 daughters. But basically, Pat Patterson and Terry Garvin, Mel Phillips, they were fired at first, but then they rehired. I think they rehired only Pat and Mel. But Terry, I don't know about him.
He goes, Pat Patterson. And I go, so
I didn't know
why
he
is he
was-
gone? If he's innocent,
Yeah, a
believe
lot of
that
people,
Patterson.
wrestling, when it comes to wrestling, they're very homophobic, but, I mean, what Pat Patterson did is not good. And it doesn't matter if he's straight, gay, or anything else. He was a nasty human being.
Never acted unprofessional. Patterson was back.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling
In
you.
regards to the allegations made, no comment.
He just doesn't want to say it. I'm pretty sure Bruce knows something. Come on, man. You know something. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what happened to that other wrestler, too, in the elevator.
He would grab my.
Yeah,
He's
it's
nobody
pretty
to go
sad.
to, son.
You're basically on your own, huh? It's so sad. Especially with the Rain Boys.
You either take it or you go home. Who's you gonna complain to?
See it on YouTube, by the way. If you want to watch this episode, just click on Rainbow Scandal. It's available on YouTube.
Look the other way while these
But trigger warning, it's very dark.
sex harassment activities.
There is a situation
Wait,
like
the
Donnie
guy
here.
with the hair right there in the middle, that's Randy Orton's uncle. That's oh god, I can't remember his name, but that's Randy's uncle. He got fired, unfortunately.
At time at this time.
That interview episode, it made him look really bad. Like, I could tell he was like, I don't want to be here.
I did it. I was sitting right next to Vince.
Oh, that's Dave
He was not
Meltzer with
comfortable.
hair.
At
Oh
one
my
point, he whispers to me, like, this is the longest hour of my life. This time, I did it.
Yeah, I think that... Yeah, that's Dave Meltzer. I think that was during the 80s and 90s when the mullet hair was in style. God, it's so weird.
Was sitting right.
This to children. You're finished, kaput.
I don't buy it.
Oh, that was Bruno. I heard this guy, he went to jail. I don't know if that's true or not.
I think that this was
Yeah, they're all clapping, but nothing unfortunately got resolved from there.
And I remember
I've
Rita Marie, the
never
referee.
seen this clip, never. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but I've tried to look up Rita Chatterton, any videos about her. Just I only found the one where she was in Geraldo.
Federation hope.
Wow, she was really pretty. I don't know about now, cause I there's really not much going on with her. I know that when Vince got in trouble for the Janelle Grant, she said some things, but I never seen pictures of her. But she was really pretty, although she did not deserve to have gotten what Vince did to her, allegedly.
Hopefully we'll be seeing more of her in time to come.
Yeah,
You're
well,
accused of
Vince,
this and accused.
It was all black and blue.
I mean, I think it did happen, cause why else? She hasn't. There's really not much information about this woman other than the fact that she still sticks to the story to this day. So I kind of believe her, to be honest. A lot more than Vince.
To come on Geraldo or
Oh, that's messed up. Come on, man. I mean, whether she's whether she's a victim or not, you shouldn't have not said that. That's like way. That's just low, man. Especially for a guy to say that on a woman. I haven't seen that interview closely, anyway. Yeah, men were
just
very
didn't-
just men. Come on, really, guys? Don't be so heartless. Come on. I mean, I kind of do feel bad for her. She was R-worded by Vince. I mean, come on, this guy, and it's just that's just her, and then there's gonna be a lot more coming out.
Nobody wanted to look. Didn't want to look. They didn't want to know.
I mean, I would like to know.
Most news.
Yeah,
there
it's
were
so sad. Like, these stories never got touched until recently because Vince got in trouble with Janelle Grant. And supposedly, from what I heard, a lot's gonna come out soon. I don't know, it's rumored, but a lot might be coming out soon. I don't know, especially with the Rainbow scandal, they say it's gonna be very dark. That's what I heard from YouTube, but I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, Vince also, the whole innocent till proven guilty. But in this situation, I don't think he's innocent. I really don't.
George Zaharian.
Good morning, guys. Man.
That
It was
Zaharian
not a
guy
good
should
morning
also
for World
get charged too. I mean, that guy was handing drugs like candy.
Wrestling.
Wrestling mogul is the victim of a government witch hunt.
Oh,
Sometimes
God, he's being
life isn't
paranoid
fair.
right there. Come on, really? Government witch hunt? That's just paranoia.
Dramatic.
Oh man, that's what happened with this one guy too recently, James Ellsworth. And yeah, that's the only one I could think of. By the way, is that Bobby Heenan right here? I think it is.
Show.
Oh yeah, and JBL did too. Oh my God, JBL. He had a neck brace and like this thing to wear for his hat. Oh my God, that was funny. It was mostly like the heels wearing those neck braces, or face masks if you're Trish Stratus.
For Hulkamania.
Oh, come on. He gets a standing ovation and then other wrestlers who get released don't? Well, I think Daniel Bryan got one too.
Thank you.
John Cena might get one too later in the
I don't
year.
think people fully.
Eric Bischoff, in case you guys don't know, he was a huge guy back in the day in the 90s with the WCW versus WWE competition, and he really liked to rub it in Vince's face how he won that time. He even has a podcast called 84 Weeks. 84 or 83? Is it 83? I think it's 83 or 88. I can't remember. And you know what that means? It's the amount of weeks he defeated Vince. Yeah, he kind of has an ego.
Wasn't me.
Well, he made the right choice, I guess.
Hulk was an opportunity to do both.
Yeah, they provided
the
him
nature
too
of our
much.
contract.
Hulk basically had a lot of control in his WCW contract. There's a lot of history regarding Hulk and WCW. It's not pretty.
As a son.
Huh.
You said it.
Right.
My heart.
I get it. I understand what Vince is feeling, because Hulk has a habit of stabbing people in the back.
You know, I mean, damn, in my book.
Yeah.
Vince viewed
There's a lot
Hulk
more
as
that Hulk's gonna do later in the years that we're gonna hate. Especially me.
a lifer.
Yes.
Hulk's
well, it does
looking at
with
it
you
also
too,
like,
Vince.
And they wanted Vince.
I heard that if Hulk would have said something, I think Vince would have went to jail. Like, I think if Hulk would have told the real truth, Vince would have went to jail for a couple years.
Vince, and so Hogan had
But
to.
he didn't.
The conviction rate.
In 1994, Vince McMahon withdrew his defamation lawsuit against Rita Chatterton and Geraldo Rivera. I think because he needed that money for that steroid trial. In 2023, during a temporary lift of the statute of limitations for alleged victims of sexual offenses in New York State, McMahon paid a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. A multi-million-dollar loss settlement to Chatterton. McMahon continues to deny any wrongdoing. Okay, that's it for episode 2. Yeah, I was kind of hoping they would talk a little bit more about the Rainbow scandal, but I think if the rumors are true and Vince McMahon does get indicted, we might hear more about it. I personally think Rita Chatterton is telling the truth. I know as a woman, I'm a woman too, and I don't know, she definitely looks more sincere about it, but unless there's something going on where you guys know that, oh, but she did this during her time, and you know, it's just sometimes, like, I don't know, I've never experienced what she might have experienced. Hopefully I never do. But I feel kind of bad for her, because also the fact that she never had work, or we never heard from this lady ever again until the Janelle Grant thing. To me, that's telling that she was blackballed from businesses and jobs and stuff. Well, I don't know. I'd say this episode is more like a 7 out of 10. I mean, I kind of know some of this information by now. Again, I think this documentary is mostly for non-wrestling fans who don't know anything about Mr. McMahon, but have heard about the recent allegations this year.